Everybody knows about this. You all know about this, so I'm going to try and quickly work through the main parts because it's a case that's been out for a while. It is Bryan Kohberger.
Okay, so the Idaho.
The Moscow, Idaho college killings, where currently the narrative is Bryan Kohberger murdered Kaylee. I'm gonna give first names: Kaylee, Xana, Ethan, and Madison. And this has been out for a while. It has been covered by a ton of true crime people out there. It's probably why we haven't talked about it that much, just because, like, we watch a lot of true crime, and there are a lot of really good people out there on YouTube that focus on true crime. Like, that is their whole being, you know.
It's their bread and butter, yeah.
Most awesome details and takes and everything. So a lot of times I wait till I can guarantee that I know what I'm talking about and things like that.
Yeah.
But the details coming out right now as they're getting ready to go to trial are insane, like mind-blowingly insane, because I remember when this first came out, all right, and everyone was positive, so sure that it was Bryan. Like, everything lined up. He seemed like the perfect sociopathic killer that's obsessing over serial killers and wanting to act just like them. Had some weird, they made it seem like a loving infatuation with the BTK killer. And what's interesting is his recent plea is the same plea as the BTK killer, and it's very rare, his plea. So he took just recently a plea of silence. So if you don't know what that is, it is where you stand up in front of the judge in the court and they ask you for your plea and you do not answer. You do not say anything, okay? So per the law, the judge will then put in a plea of not guilty for you. Now, his attorney stood up later and explained why they did that. Because they didn't, with the public being so heavily invested in this, going to a grand jury, they want to be able to question and argue the reasoning behind the indictment. So if you claim not guilty, by law, that is you saying that you agree with what is said in the indictment and you are not guilty of those charges. Now, they don't know all the details of the indictment. They also don't want to agree with what the narrative right now is of the indictment. So they didn't say anything, so that they can question and push back against the indictment later.
So what I think I did hear what's happening with the evidence that the prosecution is bringing is they haven't presented all of it yet.
Yep,
which is also not normal.
Yep. I was going to get to that too. It's extremely not normal, and it makes a whole bunch of question marks pop up. So I'll give a quick rundown here.
Of what happened, the allegations.
Yep.
Yeah, it's horrible. I have followed it. I followed it more in the beginning. I haven't followed the recent events of what's coming out from the court system and stuff. I just know that there's been a lot of speculation around it.
What was the actual date of the crime again? I focus so heavily on the affidavit here and the details of the evidence. I didn't write down when it was. I believe it was November 20th, I think. But
it was November 13th of last year.
November 13th of 2022. Basically, the current storyline is that Bryan Kohberger had been stalking these girls, and the reason why they believe that he was stalking these girls is because his cell phone pinged on the tower that is within the area of this house, all right? and it showed that he was there a whole bunch of times, more than 10 times. And then on November 13th around 4 a.m., the story is that Bryan Kohberger went in with a knife and started cutting these 4 students up, essentially. He's been charged with or indicted with the murders. He has been charged with theft.
When I saw the news about this, like when it first came out, they literally were like walking around the outside of the house and there was blood seeping out down the foundation on the outside.
Yeah. Yep.
It was crazy.
Yep. So after that happened, okay, and one of the big keynotes here is that there was a 5th person in the house that is, according to the police, an eyewitness of some taller, slender person with bushy eyebrows that was wearing a mask, okay?
It was the roommate,
and
right?
It was the roommate, yep. And she, according to her, was so scared and tired and had just woken up that she shut the door and then called later, and we'll get to that. But Bryan supposedly left the house, and his car was caught on a Ring camera driving by. Okay, so the attorneys are saying that this is a slam dunk, 100%. Bryan did it, and they have all this evidence. That's how they're making it appear, okay? Well, there is a ton of new information coming out where a lot of people are not believing that, because one of the weird things is, like you're saying, so when you've been indicted and you're going to a trial, both sides are supposed to have the evidence. Both sides are supposed to be able to see what is in the indictment and the affidavits and the statements and the proof of what gave them the okay to arrest someone. So police can't just go out there and arrest someone because they feel like it's that person. They aren't supposed to legally do that. Does it happen sometimes? It does, because laws are taken advantage of, okay? Well, excuse me. Currently, the defense does not have any of this information, to the point where the defense attorney went and had to submit a document trying to push and force the courts to give and share the information. Yeah, so there's actual pushing going on here, which already raises red flags, because if you're saying it's such a slam dunk case, 100%, then why are you withholding the evidence that's going on, right? Okay, so let's start digging in this. I feel like that's pretty much the baseline. They claim they have DNA too, which we'll get into that as well. But so some of the details here that they found on site. It's a tan leather knife sheath is found with a single source of male DNA left on the button snap. Do you know what that means? Everyone assumes that it's blood because it's a knife sheath.
Semen?
No, we don't know what it is. We just know that it's a single source sample of DNA. It could be a hair, it could be a fingerprint, or not but like enough off of your hand or finger or skin or whatever to get a DNA, a single source DNA from that. But more than likely, it's not a blood sample. That would assume that he cut himself while he was there. Now, here's another really interesting thing that they're trying to keep out of the news. I've seen multiple places online now that Bryan had a heroin problem. That house, and of course the victims don't want all this out there because that just doesn't help anything. That house was a party house. That house sold hard street drugs. According to people that have been interviewed that are around the school, that house was a place you can get heroin, which would explain why Bryan was there so many times. Okay, that he was there getting heroin, supplying heroin, picking up other drugs, supplying other drugs, whatever. All right. Now, going along that same line, the cell phone tower that they're using to prove that he was there, do you know what the radius of that is? 27 miles.
Oh, gosh.
That just means that Bryan was in a radius of 27 miles around that house. Do you know how big the town is?
Not very big.
2 by 3 miles. He could be there for anything. Anything.
Yeah, that's not
Anything.
great. I mean, it proves he's in the area. But it doesn't...
27 miles. Do you understand how long it takes to drive 27 miles?
Yeah.
Like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It's super far. Super far.
I get it, but that proves that he wasn't in Pittsburgh or wherever at his parents' house. He was there.
Okay, so going to the suspect, there was a witness that sees the suspect and hears things, okay? I won't release the name because apparently this girl has been bullied a whole bunch, but there was a roommate there, okay?
Yep.
The one that opened the door says that she saw the man.
Yep.
Do you understand that whole backstory at all?
I'm not sure.
So,
you should explain it.
So she said that she was really sleepy. She had been drinking earlier in that night. She was really scared. This is at 4 a.m., okay? This is when they determined that the killings happened. Do you know when he called? When the police got called? 12. Midday.
Yeah.
8 hours went by. 8 hours from the time of the suspected killings and the time that she saw a man in the house and was scared. She claims she went back to sleep. We find out later that's not true. And we don't know all the details of this, but this doesn't look good. This looks good for Bryan, okay? And I mean, I'll go over my opinion at the end of this, what I think it is. But she called over multiple other students in this time. She was scared and didn't know what to do, therefore proving that she knew of these bodies, okay? And remember, I haven't seen this brought up anymore. This was a drug house. There were drugs going through it. What are some reasons why you wouldn't call the cops?
You're afraid of getting in trouble.
You're afraid of getting in trouble, okay? You're already a criminal. So,
dude, to wait that long, what was she doing? Getting rid of evidence?
She didn't even call the cops. Somebody else did.
I know somebody
else
did.
got there and was
I know.
Whoa, dude. Why are the cops not... Like, if somebody called me over, I would flip out. I would be like, why have not everybody called the cops? This is insane. There are 4 dead people here. Like, dude, that is crazy. Well, she's been ripped to pieces.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
Because she knew.
There's shadiness going on. Now, there's been a bunch of experts that have come out and tried to back up her story and say, like, you know, this can happen to people where they've been so scared that they'll, like, disconnect and things like that. I get that, and I would be bought into that if there wasn't 8 hours of
her calling
making
other
a decision
people.
Not to call. The whole campus knew before the police knew. Yeah. Literally hundreds of students knew.
Dude, you can't,
before the police knew.
You can't say she was like disassociated and frozen in fear for 8 hours when she's calling the whole town, the whole college campus. She's calling everybody like, what do I do?
Yep. Absolutely.
Dude, she's obviously afraid to call the cops.
Yep.
Because she's could be incriminated in some kind of way.
And part of the reason too why they think it was Bryan is there are some things in the case that don't make sense. Like whoever it was knew how to maneuver through the house and kill these people without leaving any shoe prints. There are no shoe prints through the house, in the blood, in the anything.
That's strange.
That's super strange. Super strange. Unless stuff was tampered with. I don't know. But
I mean, 8 hours of that. I mean, them laying there. I almost wonder, is there any connection with her? Was she involved in some kind of way?
I've thought this too. And the only thing that I could think that might make sense is, okay, there's fear, okay? I would give somebody maybe an hour of fear time because your adrenaline's going, you're too scared to make a sound, you don't know what to do, you're frozen in fear, and I feel like that adrenaline can last an hour, but adrenaline goes away eventually. The body can
Yes.
only hold that adrenaline up for so long, and that goes away eventually. Okay, now I'm thinking that she has that adrenaline jump there, and she's super scared and worried to the point where an hour has gone by, and now she looks at it like, oh my God, this happened so long ago. Now I'm afraid to call because it's happened so long ago. What do I do? You know what I mean? And you're just in that panic cycle over and over and over and over and over. That's the only thing I can think of. I don't know. We don't know how many people went in the house. We don't know how many people went out of the house. We have no idea, but that is so crazy. Okay.
It has to be drugs or something because I don't know any teenage or not teenage, college age woman who's going to school who wouldn't like at the first jump call the cops when they think their roommates are being killed or hurt in some way. Like I feel like people aren't that dumb nowadays. Like everybody has a cell phone. Like the first thing you do is call 911. Everybody knows this.
Yep.
So that is like a reflex to a lot of people. Like when I'm scared that someone broke in my house, I literally type in 911, hold it in my hand, walk in and look around.
Yep.
And if I see anything, I am pressing that button.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean,
I agree with you. There's something going
true
on there.
crime is huge now. People know what to do.
Yep. And
especially young people.
Enough people knew too. It's not like she just called like somebody that is like her everything close person. The whole school knew, okay? The cops got there around midday, and kids that got interviewed called in and took the day off because of the murders at 9 a.m. 3 more hours before the police knew. It was already spreading.
My gosh.
Like the whole school knew before the cops knew. With a crime this serious, okay?
That's horrible.
That leaves me with so many questions. Now,
yes.
The other weird thing too, so one thing that looks really bad for Bryan is his phone was off, according to police, from the time of the murders. There's a ring recording where sounds that they say are sounds of the murders going on, place the time at like 4:06 to 4:25 or something like that. Well, Bryan's phone was off for 2 hours during that time.
And what was he going to college for?
I don't remember, but there was, he's going for, criminology. He was a criminal studies. He was going for his PhD in criminal studies.
Yeah, that's a little sus to me. Turn your phone off so it can't be tracked. No footprints. Like, sounds like somebody who knows.
I agree. But you're conscious enough to make those decisions, but then leave a knife sheath? That's not lining up. And then here's the thing too, though. You got to realize turning off your phone is not actually smart. It's really dumb. What should have happened is you should have left it at your home.
Right.
On.
Right.
To prove you were home.
Right.
Not turn it off, which is outside of the norm. Okay?
Yeah.
He's smart enough going into his PhD in criminal studies to know that police will look for things that are outside of the norm.
Right.
Now, here's another thing that makes me worried. And again, none of this stuff has been released. They got his DNA through his dad's DNA sample that was in a neighbor's trash can. I don't know if that's legally okay. I assume the police know this is legally okay. Here's another weird thing. When Bryan was arrested, do you know the first thing he said? Am I the only one that's been arrested?
Oh, yeah, I did hear that.
That's sketch. That is super sketch.
Yeah, why would he say that?
There's also a video of his car, although I gotta be honest here, okay, and I'll give my opinion
That
at the end
does
of this.
imply he knows something, though, no?
But that image sucks. I feel like, now this is a small town, I would have to look into my statistics and everything, but it's a Hyundai that he drove, an Elantra or something like that, pretty relatively common car, okay? You can tell it is a car of that make, maybe not that exact model, but it shows the car driving by really fast. So could it be someone else? Yes, unless they tell us that there are no other white Hyundai Elantras in that area.
So
okay?
you can't get a clear license plate pick, nothing like that.
Nothing like that. Now, right after the murder started catching attention, Bryan asked his dad to come out so they could road trip across the country.
Right.
That could be another sketchy thing, but it might not be too. Okay? Bryan's sister feels like he could be the one. His dad is covering for him 100%. 100%.
You know, I watched on, I think it was I forget the name of the channel right now. I think it's Law and Crime, maybe. Which I really like Law and Crime. But he got pulled over on that road trip
Twice.
With his father,
Yep.
and they had a body language analyst read his body language.
Yeah, but you won't be able to read his body language because he's so socially awkward. I saw it too.
So
when I first watched it, I was like, "Ooh, that is sketch." And I read body language for work, but it's not that sketch.
They compared it to a video pre-murders where he got pulled over by a cop, and he was communicating very clearly and very he was just talking very well,
okay,
and was like,
see that.
Yeah, you should watch it. We can watch it on stream. We'll follow up on this because it's interesting. She reacts to that video and talks about it, then watches the ones of him driving cross country, the two where he gets pulled over.
The one I saw was his dad talking.
And his dad did most of the talking.
Elevated adrenaline level. That's the only thing that stood out to me. He gives no facial expressions. He responds when the cop talks directly to him. The only thing I noted is the rate, how quick he turns his head to respond to the cop. It was unnaturally fast, which can mean elevated adrenaline, you know?
Yeah. So she talked about it. She compared the two.
But it's not a for sure thing. That is not a for sure science.
No, it's not. It is not an exact science. It can give you tells on people, give you, some kind of idea of what to push on, what to ask, and figure it out. But it was interesting watching them compared, and they were different.
Yeah.
They were.
Yep. I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah, we'll watch it on stream. It's interesting.
In my opinion, with everything I'm seeing right now, the evidence doesn't look too hot. It does not look like a slam dunk case. Especially if they can prove that he was at that house multiple times for dope.
Yeah, because then DNA evidence, anything that puts him in that spot,
it's gone.
It doesn't mean anything.
There were no footprints. There was no footprints in the blood. There was no, they ripped apart his car. We don't know any of this stuff. They got his dad's DNA to confirm his DNA from a neighbor's trash can. That trash can, everything that's in it is going to soil that DNA too. That's already going to be questionable because DNA, everyone likes to think it's a 100% for sure thing. It is not that simple.
Can't they just take his DNA now that they have him in custody?
I don't know. They're talking about the case leading up to this. Maybe since he has a whole legal team now with one of the lawyers that helped OJ get off, it's different, and they're keeping him safe. I don't know. I just know this is a very socially awkward person that has been very into crime and criminals to the point where nobody's going to be able to say, hey, this guy is weirdly interested in serial killers. obviously he's going for his PhD in criminal studies. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that bizarre for him to be into that. Now, my opinion, I think that there's another person involved.
I agree with you.
I do not think it's just him. I think that, what if it wasn't him at all? What if it was the roommate and like, okay, I'm going way out there, like metal hat, tinfoil hat. What if he had some kind of bond or connection with her and he was one of the first people called and told, like, hey, this is going on, this is going on, and she was looking for help or something like that because he's a criminal, because he's in criminal studies. You know what I mean? What if he was called to look into that and he's like, look, I know I'll get out of this. There's nothing going on here.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a million different possibilities.
There are a lot of possibilities. I think it would make sense, especially with his first comment he said when he got arrested.
I agree. And the evidence is sketch. They haven't found the murder weapon. They haven't found the murder clothing.
So they only found the sheath in the trash can, right?
Yeah, it was in the house.
Oh, okay.
It was in the house. But they haven't told us what DNA they got from the car of anything matching, because you got to remember, so if he did it, he immediately murdered them in a very, very, very bloody way. That blood got everywhere. There were no footprints left behind, and immediately got in a car.
Yeah, there should be blood all over his car.
There should be DNA in the car somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay? Because the eyewitness says he wasn't wearing a plastic bag. He was wearing clothing. Porous, absorbing clothing.
Yeah, well, unless the witness was involved in somehow.
You know how scary this is to think that he could be let out? This makes me nervous. There are a ton of people saying that he is innocent.
I know. And he has, pen pals. Like,
I know.
There's so many women throwing themselves at him thinking he's the next hot shit.
He has no facial expression ever.
I
Just
know.
literally blank stare. Like, what's sexy about that?
I mean, he's not a bad looking guy, but
out of his oranges, he looks way better. But still, like, I gotta connect with people. I can't connect with someone and they're like,
you know.
oh yeah, ha ha ha, that's so funny. That was a fart. No, that was a firework.
A firework went off as soon as you said that. You were like,
though. I hope I'm going to be able to cut that, so it'd be like, that was a fart. And it sounded like a fart. But
this is a super interesting case. I mean,
super interesting.
It's super horrific and sad, though. These were young people going to college, and yes, they were partying and doing all the wrong things like college kids do, okay? But they were all just innocent, having fun from what I know.
Why are the attorneys not sharing the information, though? That is shady,
but there is some shady stuff going on here. For sure.
The police had a ton of pressure because this is such a small town to get the person.
And it was
anytime
college
that happens,
girls.
yes, anytime that happens, police are pressed on to figure it out. People were leaving the town. People were not coming to school. They were literally just leaving the school, and there was a ton of pressure put on them to figure it out.
So they had to throw a case together quick.
Could mistakes have been made? Could they have got one bit of information and thought, oh, we're going to pick them up and then we'll gather everything? That is never okay, to pick the suspect and then work backwards. Never.
I agree with you.
This is scary that he could be let out. It's scary.
Absolutely. That he could get off like OJ or something. I mean, I don't know if he did it. I lean towards he did, though. So
I think he was involved.
I think he was at the very least involved, yes.
Yep. And, but I'd love to know what you guys think, if we should dig into this deeper, if we should go even further in this, if we should talk about, all the information they pulled off his computer. Like, there is a lot of different stuff talked about here, and I'll include the links, but I thought it was pretty interesting. It makes me nervous. It makes me really want to know what the outcome is here.
We need to keep up to date on it.
Yeah, he's a spooky dude, just saying.
He is a spooky dude, and we definitely need to watch some of the videos on stream.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
But let us know what you think. Leave some comments. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, is he a serial killer, or could have he been a serial killer if he had not been arrested? A lot of people have been asking that question.
Or if it was just sitting down underneath the skin waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.